Hey, are you thinking about planting a fall garden this year? Well, if you're not, you should think about it. So stick around because I'm going to tell you how to plan for it, how to prepare for it, what you can plant, and when you should plant it. Come on, let's go. Hey, I'm Rick Bickling. On this episode of the How to Do Gardener, we're going to talk about getting ready for your fall garden. I'm out here, it's 8:30 in the morning, it's already 90 degrees and I'm sweating, so excuse me for that. It's kind of a weird time of the year. Here in Austin, it's been over 100 degrees for about 18 or 20 days straight now, so fall is kind of the last thing on your mind other than you can't wait for it to get here. But it's time to get ready. Keep them growing. If you've got some tomato plants or pepper plants that have stopped producing, keep them alive, and when the weather cools off, they're liable to produce again. In my case, I've got some sweet potatoes back here that'll be ready to harvest come the first frost, so I'm going to keep them watered. If you've got herbs that have started to bolter, cut them back to help them produce new foliage rather than go to seed. Clean it up. Before you can even think about planting anything for a fall garden, you need to clean up what's left over from your spring garden. Any kind of spent plants, go ahead and take them out. If they're not diseased, you can put them in your compost bin. Amend your soil. Once you've cleaned out your old spent garden beds, fall is the perfect time to add compost to help replenish nutrients lost during the spring. This is a good time of the year to use a good organic fertilizer to amend your soil. I recommend Job's Organics fertilizer. This isn't sponsored by them or anything, but I've been using it for a lot of years now, and it really does a good job. Draw a plan. You don't need a degree in art or expensive software to draw a basic layout of your yard. What you want to do is mark where your house is, where the property lines are, indicate which way is north, any kind of shady areas, and any poorly drained areas. Add new beds. Now that you're sitting there and drawing a plan of your yard, take a look at it and see if there's any areas that you want to turn into some new garden beds. For new beds, avoid low-lying, poorly drained areas. Clear the ground. That might be overkill. Just clear the ground. Add fall color. Look at your landscape as a whole and then determine which native or adapted fall plants work in what area of your yard, depending on their color, their size, their water requirements, and their sun requirements. By planting now, they'll be well established come fall. Don't lose track of today. It's really easy to get worn down in these dog days of summer from the heat, cleaning out your garden, harvesting the crops before you clean it out, and now getting ready to plant your fall garden. But don't let the anticipation of your fall garden and the promise of cooler temperatures yet to come distract you from today. Remember, to everything there is a season. Grow the right crops. You really need to stick with cool weather crops for your fall garden. Some of the best vegetables to grow in your fall garden are broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, collards, cauliflower, carrots, English peas, kale, kohlrabi, leeks, parsley, radishes, spinach, beets, and lettuce. Plant at the right time. For your fall garden, the most important date to remember is the first frost date for your area. The first frost date for any given area is based on historical weather data from that area collected over a 30-year period and compiled by the National Climatic Data Center from over 5,800 weather monitoring stations throughout the United States. For each weather monitoring station, a freeze day is any day in the year that the temperature reaches 32 degrees or below. A frost day is any day in the year that the temperature reaches 36 degrees or below. So why worry about frost days more than freeze dates? These weather monitoring sensors are mounted about 6 feet off the ground. So during clear, calm, and cold nights, even though the temperature 6 feet above the ground may be 36 degrees, down on ground level where your vegetables are, it may well be below freezing. So you're really just playing the odds. So how do you know what your frost date is? Well, luckily, I've created a tool on my website, howdogardener.com, and I've got a link down below in the description. All you need to do is go to that, put in your zip code, hit the button, and it'll tell you what your first frost date is for your area and your first freeze date. Now you know what your first frost date is. The other factor in the equation is the days to maturity for any given crop. Once you put the plant on the ground, how many days or weeks is it going to take before it's ready to harvest. So now you just work backwards. If this is your first frost date and it takes X number of weeks to reach maturity, you want to plant the crop that many weeks before your first frost date. Then it'll be ready to harvest after your first frost date. Plant in the right place. Okay, what does that mean? Basically what I'm talking about here is crop rotation. It's something that's been practiced for hundreds of years by farmers, so there's no hard and fast rule as to which plants should be planted after one another when practicing crop rotation, whether in a farmer's field or in your home garden. The most effective and easiest means of crop rotation involves grouping plants into 6 different categories of plants. Each of these groups have similar insect, disease, and soil nutritional content characteristics. So the idea is never plant a vegetable from the same group in the same spot, one right after the other. You want to give it a couple of seasons or maybe even a year in between. Let's combine these 3 and let's take a look at what you should plant, when you should plant it, and where you should plant it.
My wristwatch is broken, my shoes are untied. Time is a-ticking, and so is the tide. But I am not worried, things are what they are. Come rain or come shine or a shooting star. I've been to the south, I've been to the north, east and the west, the middle of course. I may have been astray, but I've never been lost. Never been beat by the road I've crossed. I guess I've been lucky to some degree, for someone who ate all the fruit from the tree. The stars been aligned and my goose hanging high. I'll be okay in the sweet by and by. I was born at morning on the first day of June, 1900 and something and 2. My mom was a sweetheart, my father was too. They left me a watch and an old pair of shoes.
One of the most important factors in having consistently good yields from your garden is maintaining the health of your soil. And one of the best ways to do that is always have something growing in your garden. For some really good information about maintaining the health of your soil, click up here on my video about permaculture, soil science, health, and fertilizer. It's pretty interesting. Check out my video down here where we take kind of a humorous look at the 8 emotional stages of gardening.
Okay, in the sweet by and by.